Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Jamal. I hope you guys have all been doing well. I'm finally back for another video. Today, we're actually going to be installing a leveling kit on my 2022 Jeep Gladiator. We're installing the Teraflex 1.5-inch front leveling kit. My Jeep is a Rubicon model, so we're going to be installing that today. And so I figured perfect opportunity to pick the camera up and do a little DIY. So let's go ahead and start off, and I'm going to show you guys what comes in the box for the kit that we're going to be installing. All right, guys, so what we have here is a pretty basic leveling kit. It comes with these two pucks right here. These are a 1-inch and a half-inch puck, if you guys can tell. So I guess if you wanted to, you could install just the 1-inch or the half-inch if you didn't want to go the full 1.5-inch. But today we're going to be installing the full 1.5-inch, hoping to get a little bit more clearance for some bigger tires I want to put on this thing. So we're finally getting around to doing that. So that's one part of it, the 1.5-inch total kind of pucks that sit on top of the spring. And then you also have a bigger bump stop here. This is a 1-inch bump stop Teraflex unit. This goes on the lower axle and mounts to where the spring would come and hit or where the bump stop would hit. So because we are extending the travel a little bit, we want a little bit of a bigger bump stop. And then finally, we have some hardware to install that bump stop. So pretty basic kit, as you guys can tell there. I'm going to try to do this with removing as little amount of things as possible. So obviously we're going to have to take the wheels off. We're going to have to take that spring out and hopefully install this and it's not too bad. I'm also going to try to do it a side at a time instead of doing both sides kind of together and dropping the whole lower axle. I'm hoping I can just get the front off the ground and I can just do one side at a time, and that saves me a lot of kind of effort. And me only having one jack and two jack stands, it should be doable by just doing it with one side at a time. So let's go ahead and get started by jacking up the vehicle and get some of the stuff off. All right, guys, so because my jack stands aren't tall enough, because the first truck I've ever had saw my jack stands, I guess, are for cars only, but never really had that issue, but it's all good. I'm going to use a jack to get the wheel and tire off, and then I can lower the jack and we'll have the clearance that we need. I just have to use the jack for now to get the wheel off, but once the wheel's off, we should be okay to go ahead and lower that side and create enough clearance between where the spring mounts at the top and the axle to get that spring out and install those spacers. So I'm going to get that wheel off real quick. It's a 22 millimeter lug nut, so we're going to use that real quick and get that wheel off. All right, so now that we have the wheel removed, we can kind of take a look at the things that we need to remove in order to get that spring off to fit those pucks up underneath here. So what we have to remove is this screw here to free up the brake line from binding. We have to remove the lower shock bolt. We have to remove the sway bar end link there. We have to take that off in order to let it go down. And then we also have to loosen up the track bar bolt that's right there. I'm also going to go ahead and loosen up the control arm bolts, the lower control arm there and the upper control arm here, so that those don't bind. But I think that's all that really needs to be removed in order to get that spring off. There's some connections there on the differential that a lot of the how-tos recommend removing, but I saw a video where a gentleman didn't remove them and he was able to get it off just fine. So I'm going to attempt to do that to try to try to remove as little things as possible. So let's go ahead and get started by removing that nut there that holds the brake line down. So that nut there is a 15 millimeter. Remove that. Simple. go ahead and move to the sway bar end link. All right, and that end link there is held on with an 18 millimeter. Go ahead and get that off. All right, and we'll also go ahead and loosen up the track bar bolt. That's a 21 millimeter. Let's try a swivel socket here. All right, next I'm going to go ahead and loosen up the upper control arm bolts here. Go ahead and get in there. 18 millimeter here as well. And in order to get to this other upper control arm bolt, there's a little shield that's held in with a little 10 millimeter bolt that we can remove. Pull that off, and then you can bend this up out of the way in order to gain access to this bolt here, which I believe is also an 18 millimeter. All right, I can't actually get to this bolt with my impact, so I'm gonna do it the old-fashioned way. All right, we'll call that good. Now we're gonna go ahead and remove the lower, or loosen up the lower control arm. The nut on the back side of it is a 24 millimeter, which you'll have if you do your own oil changes. It's the same size as that. And then the actual bolt is a 21 millimeter head. So there it goes. All right, now to the other side. You guys really should have a 24 millimeter wrench for this, but I don't. I'm just using an adjustable one. All right, that's loose enough. Now that we got everything loose, we can support the axle and remove that lower strut bolt and start to lower the axle to get the spring out. I believe this lower strut bolt is an 18 millimeter. Boom. Remove the... And now we can begin the process of lowering the spring. Now, as we lower the spring, we have to make sure and watch that that none of the lines that go to the axle start to stretch or kind of like snag on anything, because the last thing we want to do is break a line. We'll be in a lot of trouble if we do that. So I'm going to start to slowly lower the jack, and we should be able to see the spring start to decompress. All right, so we should have the ability to remove the spring, which we do. Give it a little twist. Boom. Spring comes out. And that's what we needed to do right there. All right, and now we're going to go ahead and install the leveling pucks themselves. So this is going to come out this rubber piece here. And the way this works is these pins line up with the indentions here. See there? And then we got to make sure there's guide pin holes up here that these sit in. We got to make sure when we put the spring back in that everything lines up there. So that's on there. And then we're going to go ahead and put the spring back in. This lined up where it needs to go. Okay. And then, come on. And kind of force it up. Guide pin here. Alright, there we go. So it's sitting in there. Perfect. That's good. Let's back up underneath here. Stop. Alright guys, that nut is an absolute nightmare to line up, but I finally got it. I had to kind of look from underneath this, lay on my back and look underneath, and you could see the bolt coming through, and then I was able to line it up that way. So if I can get this tool back on here, we can tighten it down real quick. Okay, the tool's on there. I'm gonna grab my impact ratchet here, or my electric ratchet here, and get on it. Alright, that's tight now. There we go. Now the strut's back on, we're going to go ahead and put the sway bar bolt back on there as well. There we go. We're going to put this nut back on that holds the brake line. Alright, now I'm going to go ahead and tighten the control arm bolts back down. Start with the upper control arm there. Yeah, I've completely taken the jack stand support off. So We're in full droop right now. Tighten these control arm bolts back down, so that's the way I want it to be. All right, and I'm gonna get after this one with the normal non-impact, because the impact won't fit over here. All right, that's good. And then I'm gonna go ahead and reapply the little shield that's held on with a 10mm. I'm gonna go ahead and tighten the lower control arm now with a 21mm and 24 on this side. All right, and same with the last bolt here. All right, guys, so we got everything finally buttoned up. It took a little bit longer than I wanted it to, but not bad. The only thing we haven't tightened is a track bar bolt. We're going to do that after we install the other side. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and throw this wheel and tire back on. And then we're going to go ahead and do the other side real quick. So just for time's sake, I went ahead and put the passenger side wheel back on, torqued the lugs to 130 foot-pounds. This side's all buttoned up, again, besides that track bar bolt that I mentioned. And I went ahead and came over here to the other side. I took the wheel off already. And then I also removed the brake line bracket there. So that's off of there now. And so we're going to go ahead and continue with the installation. I might just time-lapse this because I want to get this done kind of ASAP. It's freaking hot out here. And I want to try to beat the mosquitoes before they all come out and start eating me alive. So I'm going to go ahead and put this on a tripod and just time-lapse it. All right, so I loosened that top one up again a bit by hand. I'm going to get this bottom one now. 21mm down here. Can't stick a socket on this side because the exhaust pipe, so I have to hold up my open-ended wrench here. Boom, shuts out. So far so good. So far so good. And we're getting a little bit tight. Let's see if I can do it for that. All right, guys, I went ahead and threw the pucks in up top just as before. And now we're going to go ahead and put the bump stop in. This, again, the most annoying part of the install. This side's a little bit easier, though, because you have more access to hold the retaining nut down below. So all right, everyone, we're pretty much done. I had to run inside and charge the camera real quick, but let me show you guys what we've got done here. So, flipping the camera around, we got this side all put back together now. Let me adjust the NV real quick. All right, yeah. So basically, we've got the brake line put back on. The shock is put back on. All four control arm bolts. That one there, here at the bottom. This one here, and then the one there at the top, and the one on that side there have all been tightened down. We also did the sway bar end link. That one's tight now. And then again, we've got the Teraflex. I don't know if you could tell, but it's up underneath there. Teraflex. The leveling kit is on. We've got the bumps up on there as well. I'm going to put this wheel back on, and then I'm going to go ahead and put that wheel on. The last thing left to do is tighten down that track bar bolt. So let's put the wheel on real quick. I put that driver's side wheel and tire back on. As you can see there, the jack is completely lowered. I torqued this down to 130 foot-pounds again. Jack stands are still there. We're going to go ahead and tighten down the track bar bolt here. As you can tell, get some light in here. All right. That bolt there is the last piece. Jeep is back on the ground now. Everything is tightened up. See if you guys can tell here. But does it look level now? Can you tell? Definitely looks more level to me in person. It definitely did make a pretty big difference there. I'll put in a side-by-side photo right now. But that's going to go ahead and do it for the video, guys. I hope you guys did enjoy it. I hope you guys learned something. Hopefully this video is useful to those of you guys that want to install this kit. I've seen it installed a bunch of different ways, but I really didn't want to have to pull off both wheels and remove everything all together and drop the entire front axle down. And I wanted to be able to do it side by side, one side at a time. So it actually did work out that way. So I would say that the driver's or the passenger side is a bit more difficult just because of that bump stop that nut underneath the bump stop is a lot harder to get to, but it's fairly straightforward on both sides. Once you're done with one side, you can get the other side a lot quicker. But that's going to go ahead and do it for this video. I hope you guys did enjoy it. Please leave all your questions down below. I'll try to reply in the comments. Obviously, like the video and subscribe to the channel for more videos. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.